we got a little bit of drama going on in the Chiefs game versus the Ravens last week. We'll talk about that, and then we'll jump into our outlook for the Bengals matchup this weekend. So starting with the Chiefs matchup versus the Ravens, what a great win for the Chiefs. It's going to have huge implications for the playoffs later on in the season. I still think the Ravens are an awesome team, and that was a huge win for the Chiefs. But after the game, Isaiah Likely, player who had a great game for the Ravens, was one of the top stars of the game for the Ravens, had this quote. He said, "This is probably the worst game we're going to play all year. If this is the best they got, good luck in the postseason." So, Isaiah Likely, most likely after this game, was in his feelings. He was frustrated, disappointed, angry, whatever you want to call it, about this loss, and understandably so. But he kind of broke one of my rules that I've grown to follow as a man. And that rule is that if I'm ever feeling something, or I'm angry, or I'm frustrated, keep my mouth shut. Just keep it shut. Nothing's going to come out of my mouth whenever I'm angry that is useful or helpful. Eventually that emotion will pass, and then I can speak about the matter clearly. Isaiah Likely, he's a young man. He hasn't had enough time to mature and grow and learn these kind of rules like I've gotten to save myself from a lot of trouble. And I used to say things like Isaiah Likely said here. So I understand his position. I understand where he's coming from. This is coming from a position of, hey, we lost. I'm frustrated. We've played the Chiefs our last two games. We lost both of them. And I'm sick and tired of it. I'm frustrated. I played great. It just wasn't good enough. And on top of that, it was his toenail that caused them to lose the game, because he just did not get his other foot in bound on an awesome play. I mean, it was crazy, and what an ending to that Chiefs-Ravens game. But I want to talk about why Isaiah Likely's quote was dumb. It was a bad quote. He should not have said it. And the reason for that is the Chiefs, when he says, if this is the best they got, I can tell you right now, that was not the Chiefs' best game by any stretch of the imagination. There was a bad interception from Mahomes before halftime that he was kind of hit and just threw a bad pass and got picked off. You don't see Mahomes throw a lot of interceptions. The Chiefs were penalized 6 times for 45 yards. There's a busted defensive play by the Chiefs on that crazy play by Isaiah Likely to score that long touchdown where Lamar Jackson rolled out and found him at the last second. And Nick Bolton was kind of in the right spot, but he could have been positioned a lot better, and then he wasn't able to make the tackle or at least slow down Likely, and Likely scooted on for a touchdown. Now, Likely is super athletic, and you could see on that play, but the Chiefs very rarely have a defensive play that gets screwed up like that. Usually they're on their P's and Q's, and the reason for that is because they have to play defense versus Mahomes every day. They are like the busted play kings on defense because they've seen it so much. So that very rarely happens. In addition to that, the Chiefs were 4 for 9 on third down. So throughout the history of Mahomes' career, usually they're around 50% or better on third down. So this game from the Chiefs versus the Ravens was not their best football by any stretch of the imagination. I feel like all of us watching the game could say that. This was not the Chiefs' best game. They played an okay game, but this was not their best game. And that should be scary for the rest of the NFL, because if this is not the Chiefs' best game, what is their best game going to look like? Because last year, the Ravens had the number 1 defense in the NFL, and the Chiefs just put 27 on them like it was nothing. You could see the addition of Xavier Worthy was paying dividends. Rashee Rice looked a year better, and this is a group offensively that we knew going in was going to be much improved. And we haven't even gotten Hollywood Brown on the playing field yet in the regular season. So he might be there ready for the Chiefs in week 2 versus the Bengals, but this was not the Chiefs' best game. And they still controlled the game throughout until the very last second when Lamar Jackson had to do some heroics to get them in a position where they could potentially tie the game or take the lead with a 2-point conversion. And while I do not think this was the best game from the Chiefs, I thought Lamar Jackson played one hell of a game. He played very well. He said after the AFC Championship game, he wanted to run the ball more. all the pundits, all the talking heads said that the Ravens, if they ran the ball more, would have won that game. So what does Lamar Jackson do? He takes every opportunity he has to run the ball in this game. He ran for over 120 yards versus the Chiefs. He was the offense for the Ravens. He was awesome in this game. And the Ravens still lost. They still lost. How frustrating does it have to be for the Ravens and Lamar Jackson and Isaiah Likely that they gave it their all, they played their best, and they still lost? Granted, Lamar Jackson missed a couple throws that could have won the game for them, but that just seems like it's part of his mystique against the Chiefs. He just has this hard time getting over the hump versus them. So I think that both teams could have played a little better, but Lamar Jackson played awesome. And while he ran the ball a lot versus the Chiefs, I don't think that's sustainable for him. I would not want to see him do that every game this year, and I don't think he will. I think that was just him trying to beat the Chiefs with everything he had, and it wasn't enough. So the Chiefs did not play their best game, and they won. The Ravens played a pretty good game, and they lost. Moving on to the Bengals. What the heck is going on with the Bengals to start the season? It seems every year that Joe Burrow is the quarterback for the Bengals, they get off to this horrible start. Is it because they're not playing their players in preseason? I mean, Andy Reid's been doing it, and the Chiefs always seem to get off to a good start. The Bengals lost last week to the Jacoby Brissett-led Patriots. Now, I've heard some people say some good things about Jacoby Brissett, most notably that he is just very intelligent. And some have gone as far as to say he's the smartest quarterback in the league. I don't believe that. I believe Joshua Dobbs is the smartest quarterback in the league. To do what he did last year, going from one team to another and then being able to start and be competent in 1 week, that's insane. But Jacoby Brissett, he deserves some kudos because he has bounced around to a lot of different teams, a lot of different systems. He's learned those systems. He's played well enough to do well in those systems. And right now, I think Jacoby Brissett is probably the best backup level quarterback in the NFL. And he's obviously bottom third of the league in the NFL in terms of starting quarterbacks. And I like what the Patriots are doing with him, giving their rookie a chance to learn, sit for a year, kind of like the Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes and Alex Smith. So I like this. I like what the Patriots are doing. And the Patriots won this football game. They beat the Bengals 16-10. But once again, Burrow's slow start. He went 21 for 29, throwing for 164 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He was sacked 3 times and had an 86.0 rating. Speaking of Joe Burrow's rating, so in his 4 seasons as a starter for the Cincinnati Bengals, his first 2 games of the season, so week 1, week 2, he has an average quarterback rating around 81. And so, just for reference, Kenny Pickett in 2023 had a quarterback rating of 81.4. So you could say the first 2 weeks of the season, Joe Burrow, he's about as good as Kenny Pickett was last year. And that's not very good. Kenny Pickett was one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL last season. In fact, he was so bad he lost his starting job, and I don't know if he's ever going to get one back. So Joe Burrow is playing like a backup quarterback to start the seasons, to start his seasons every year. This is not an anomaly. And so if this version of Joe Burrow shows up versus the Chiefs this weekend, the Chiefs will blow the Bengals out. There's no doubt in my mind. If good Joe Burrow does not show up in this football game, the Chiefs are going to win this game by more than 2 scores. So Joe Burrow has to feel the pressure, has to feel, has to feel that if he does not play well in this game, the Bengals are going to lose and they're going to be 0-2 to start the season. And in addition to that, T. Higgins did not play last week versus the Patriots, and a report came out from Ian Rappaport saying that he won't play versus the Chiefs too. or that he's unlikely to play versus the Chiefs. Now, who knows if this is smoke and mirrors, some gamesmanship by the Bengals trying to get one over on the Chiefs. But as of now, the expectation is that he will not play. On the opposite side of the ball for the Chiefs, their expectation for Hollywood Brown is that he will play versus the Bengals. So we'll see if that plays out. We'll see who's available once we get closer to the game on Sunday. But I've seen a lot of folks on Twitter saying that T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are the two pieces that make that Bengals offense tick. You take one of those pieces away, they're not so good anymore. And there's some evidence to back that up, but I think that last week's performance had more to do with the fact that the Bengals, just for whatever reason, have a slow start every year. It doesn't matter. I mean, in this game versus New England, they had 224 total yards. That was an average of about 5 yards per play. That's pathetic. They turned the ball over twice. They had 2 sloppy fumbles. They were 4 for 11 on third down. While not terrible, that's certainly not good. Joe Burrow, 5.7 yards per pass versus a decent New England Patriots defense. But let me tell you this. The Chiefs' defense is better than the Patriots. In addition to that, Mahomes, last week versus last year's number 1 defense in the entire NFL, threw for 10.4 yards per pass attempt. You got to be kidding me. Right now, the Bengals are in trouble, and Kansas City's coming up on their schedule. If they do not figure a way to turn this slow start around, it's going to be an ugly win for the Chiefs. I mean, I think they're going to win by more than 1 score. So I want to introduce this idea about Joe Burrow. So for every Patrick Mahomes, there's 1 or 2 or 3 Jake Delhommes or Dante Culpeppers. These guys, these players that start their career off looking so promising, and then for whatever reason, maybe it's injuries, maybe it's their team falls apart, maybe they just get the yips, who knows. But that player does not end up stacking up to what their early career looked like it was going to be. I'm not necessarily saying that Joe Burrow will fall under this trap, but I will say that out of all the quarterbacks whose stars are shining so brightly and they look very impressive, I think Joe Burrow is kind of trending this way more than the others because of his injury history, because of the slow starts, because he's been losing some players on his team. We know Tyler Boyd's gone. We don't know if they're going to be able to keep all this talent that they have in Cincinnati once, everyone gets paid. So just kind of throwing this idea in the hat that Joe Burrow has a lot to prove this year, in my opinion. And we'll see what he's got as we stretch through the 17-game season. And if I was a betting man, I would put money on Joe Burrow bouncing back, playing well, looking like his former self. But there's also in me a little shadow of doubt that maybe he's got the Jake Delhomme syndrome or he's got the Dante Culpepper syndrome. Only time will tell. But this is where I want to throw a challenge to all of you in the comments. What do you think about my take on Joe Burrow? Do you think he's going to turn things around this season, overcome his injury, play really well? Do you think he's going to play well versus the Chiefs? Let me know down in the comments. I want to say that y'all have been, on fire in the comments lately. I've been enjoying reading all of them. You have so many great insights. So I really appreciate all of you. And then I also appreciate all of you who can like this video and who have subscribed to RGR Football. Once again, we're trying to get to 30,000 subscribers. So, this is a goal that we've been working towards, and we're getting closer and closer and closer, but we need your help. So if you hit the subscribe button, we'd really appreciate you. And if you hit the like button, this shares this content with other Chiefs fans who may be interested in seeing similar stuff. But this is my take for the Chiefs-Bengals game. I am picking the Chiefs to win by a score of 31-17. I think this is going to be a good game for the Chiefs. I don't think that Joe Burrow is going to play well, and the Chiefs are going to come out with a victory. But that's all. This is Gary McKenzie signing out. Y'all have a good rest of your week, and enjoy football this weekend.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more, and subscribe to RGR Football.